Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The More Money Show with Steve Moore on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're back, folks. This is the More Money Show. I am your host, economist Steve Moore. Thanks again for joining on a Saturday afternoon. So my next guest is Phil Kerpen. You know Phil Kerpen, who's a regular guest on the More Money Show. He works with me at Unleash Prosperity. He also runs an organization called American Commitment. What is American Commitment?
Well, we're a national free market advocacy group, Steve. We work really on all the fiscal, economic, and regulatory issues, but we try to focus on the ones at any given point in time that are really on the margin, where if we get more citizens engaged, sending letters to Congress or into regulatory agencies, we can maybe tip the outcome in a more free market direction. If people want to take a look, AmericanCommitment.org is the website.
Okay, great. Well, so a lot to talk about. Let's start with the issue that you've become one of the world's experts on, and that is the healthcare system. And so let's start with what's going on in Congress right now, because I think people are a little confused about what's happening. So we have the Obamacare subsidies that the Democrats want extended and expanded. You're against that. I'm against that. I think any rational person should be against that because it's exploded costs for everyone. So what is the state of play right now?
Well, it's a pretty amazing situation because the House at the very end of last year passed a pretty good bill. I wouldn't say a home run, but, a solid line drive single in the direction of all the things that we want on healthcare: deregulation, more choice, more competition, more transparency. It didn't do everything that we wanted, but directionally it was a very good bill. So I thought, okay, this is where the House is.
Let's go through this.
Yeah.
More transparency means you get to know what the things, the patient gets to see what things are going to cost.
Yeah, so they had that they have transparency for prescription drug pricing in that bill, which is important. Of course, you and I would like it for all medical services, and we would like them to go a lot further. But that's what I mean. It wasn't
hospital services.
This bill didn't touch that.
Why?
Because they lack ambition. Every time I talk to a Republican on healthcare, I say, be more ambitious.
Yeah. Look, I mean, folks, why does it make any sense that if you're admitted to the hospital, they don't tell you what it's going to cost? I mean, it's just we ask what everything costs, but you can't.
The vast majority of medical services are non-emergency, and people could shop for them if we had a functioning market system.
So some of those numbers, by the way, that I've seen show that, for example, an MRI might cost $800 at one hospital, and you go down the street and it's $3,000. I mean, and the fact that people don't shop around really increases the cost of healthcare, doesn't it?
Yeah, we've got a. We have an Unleash Prosperity Now poll on this issue specifically. We haven't released it yet, but I'll give your listeners a little bit of a preview, a little sneak preview. Yeah. The number one support number in the whole poll, and we went through a whole list of reforms, but when we asked, should prices be transparent, it was 92%. Now, I don't know the other 8 or if they didn't hear the question right or what it was.
Okay, so who could be against that? Maybe it was the hospital.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
But the point is that Trump did in his first term, thanks to Arthur Laffer, and they discussed this, and Trump signed an executive order. It seems to me, Phil, that the hospitals, the physicians, the clinics, nobody's abiding by the rule.
Yeah, the compliance has been very poor. And the other problem we've got with these giant hospital systems, which, by the way, they're great at PR because they actually do super well in our poll. People love the hospitals, which I find incredible.
Hospitals are great,
which I find incredible because, what they've done in many cities, you have 1 or 2 hospital systems that have gobbled up all of the physicians' practices and essentially eliminated competition. And, we have some crazy federal payment policies. So in Medicare, if you go to an independent physician for a hospital visit, Medicare pays one amount. But if the exact same physician working in the exact same building gets acquired by a hospital group and they hang a shingle outside saying now it's a satellite location of the hospital, the federal government will pay more for the same visit with the same doctor.
Why?
Because now it's a hospital visit. Now it can now. So they have. So we have a lot of incentives that have driven a lot of consolidation, which has led to less competition and choice. But to finish my original thought, so they had a pretty good bill at the end of the year, but then they passed a horrible bill in the House. They actually turned control of the House floor over to the Democrats. A handful of Republicans did, and they passed the Chuck Schumer bill, which is a 3-year extension of the supersized subsidies with literally zero reforms, no income limits, no minimum payments, zero anti-fraud measures, even though we know that 32% of all the Social Security numbers that are used for Obamacare do not reconcile with IRS tax records. That's according to the GAO. So I think it's crazy for anyone to look at that and say, we don't need to have anti-fraud measures. We don't need to have any reforms. We're just going to accept.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
It's football season, and you can now get almost anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a running back delivered, but you can get baby back ribs delivered. A strong defense? No. A strong deodorant? Yes. A six-pack of abs? Nope. Six-pack of beer? Yes. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Alcohol 21 plus and in select cities. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
Could be a fraudulent.
Yeah, is at least suspect. Is at least there's something because because those numbers should reconcile. Now in government, you're not going to get perfect reconciling all the time. So I'm not going to say it's all fraud, but it's a very big number and it's highly suspicious. And we also know from GAO that there were 68,000 Social Security numbers that were being used for more than one person on Obamacare under the same Social Security number. So this has massive problems. And to me, it's amazing because what I thought Democrats would do is I thought they would say, okay, we're going to extend it with these reforms. And they were going to have a bunch of reforms, things that'd be hard to say no to, and that they would sort of, use that as a way to leverage, sort of box in Republicans politically and get this money done. And they didn't even do that, Steve. They just extended it with no fixes, no reforms, nothing. Just 3 more years of the exact same thing.
They're not against fraud.
But that passed the House. 17 Republicans and all the Democrats passed in the House. So now we have this weird circumstance where the House has passed a pretty good bill. The House has also passed a horrible bill. And everyone's kind of like looking to the Senate. Well, are you going to do something? Are you going to do nothing? Are you going to do something good? Are you going to do something bad? And so we're all waiting. Trump says that this coming week, he's going to unveil a plan. I think there are a lot of indications it's going to be pretty good. Okay. We've shared all of our ideas with the White House, so we'll see what they come out with.
Now, is the clock ticking on this? I mean, do they have to have a bill?
Well, the open enrollment. All
these people going to lose their health
So the open enrollment, the Democrats say. Open enrollment for 2026 is closed. It closed on January 15th, and
so
we'll
see.
What does that mean? So the current enrollment period for choosing an Obamacare plan for 2026 is over unless you have a qualifying event, like you change jobs or you have a baby or whatever. There's a list of qualifying events. But other than that, you got to wait until next year's open enrollment. It's closed. The window for that is closed. So we'll know very soon what those final numbers were. But we know that as of January 3rd, it was almost as high as last year. So this idea that, well, there are going to be millions and millions of people that can't afford care and it's going to be, all of these fear hype stories have already been disproven. So I think politically that undermines the Democrats' case. But it also, I think, is not such great news for taxpayers, Steve, because it means that all those phantom people and all the fraud that we know went on in the last few years, those people are still on. The insurance companies are still being paid for them for 2026. So there's a lot of work to do. So
I'm talking to Phil Kerpen, who is the president of American Commitment and also works with me at Unleash Prosperity. By the way, if you don't get our Unleash Prosperity hotline, please do. It's free. It costs you nothing. Just go to unleashprosperity.com. I want to stick on this fraud message as if I can, because you're one of the editors of the hotline. And I think a lot of people know this story about what happened with this independent journalist in Minneapolis, who videotaped, firsthand the fraud. And he would go to these daycare centers. There are no kids. I think most of you know this story. What I think is so remarkable about this story,
Nick Shirley was his name, yeah.
He's being treated
like a 22 or 23-year-old kid did better journalism than all of the
right.
professional journalists.
First of all, where were the journalists? Why did it take a kid with a camera to do this? Where was ABC, NBC, Fox News? Where was everybody? Where was CNN? But I think what's remarkable about this story, and I want your thoughts about it, is now the media and the left is going after Shirley as if he's kind of a villain here. I mean, you would think people would be, I think he's a hero for doing this. So what the hell is going on there? Why are they acting as if he's a watchdog?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, look, this is the same thing they did for years with James O'Keefe also. I think that they hate the idea that in this day and age, anybody with a camera can be a journalist. Yeah. They want to gatekeep. And when they see that somebody do this, and they also want to protect these government spending programs.
But the point is that look, I'm all for the journalists doing that, but they're not. Yeah. They don't do it. And this cost this guy probably $500. You've got $5 billion, major media centers that didn't get this story.
Well, look, you're right. I think the good news is they have been shamed into covering the Minnesota fraud scandals now. And these guys, for no other reason than we keep seeing prosecutions now. The Trump FBI and Justice Department have collected massive amounts of information here, and it's all going to come out whether the journalists want to do the work or not. But it looks like at this point that the scale of the fraud in Minnesota, this is one state, it looks like it's about $8 billion that was stolen from federal taxpayers, $8 billion, which, just for some perspective on this, this fraud scheme was overwhelmingly in the Somali community in Minnesota. That's half the GDP of Somalia. Somalia has a $16 billion GDP, and we had an $8 billion fraud rate.
This is an economic stimulus plan for Somalia. Well, we had a funny, cartoon in our outline about, that scene from Breaking Bad where, he goes in with his wife into the garage, and there's for people who remember that scene, and there's the stacks and stacks of $100 bills he got from selling drugs. And she says, "Where did all this money come from?" He says, from our Somalian.
Well, Steve, we've talked about this. We've talked about this a lot in Hotline, but there's a massive, massive problem when you have programs that are state-run but federally funded. Yes, which is that they just see it as free money. So why do they care if it's fraud?
Where was Tim Walz?
He thought it was stimulus, I think. He wanted to bring in the money. Look, the fact that he is now decided not to run for re-election tells you, I think, that he's in some personal jeopardy on this stuff.
Well, he should be. He certainly should be impeached from office immediately. This is one of the biggest financial frauds in American history. And he seems petulant about this. Why should I have to leave office?
Steve, in his statement on why he wasn't running for re-election, he said it's so he can focus on fighting fraud.
It's about time. It's only 7.5 years into your administration. Okay, so you think that what's the happy news? Are we going to get a decent outcome on healthcare? Are we going to see the Republicans fold? Because I believe, Phil, that we could get better healthcare in this country for half the cost if we had a more efficient system and put the patient back in the equation, put the free market back in the equation. But we keep moving in that opposite direction.
Look, I'm cautiously optimistic just because I think things have gotten bad enough that there's an appetite for being aggressive. And this is a president who I think wants to have a positive legacy on healthcare. And he's been very focused on, look, he got the United Kingdom to agree to pay 25% more for brand drugs from the United States. Yeah. So, I think we're making progress in a lot of areas where people thought it was intractable. And, I'm hoping that his plan will actually get some positive elements into a bill if one does move in Congress. So, we're going to try to make sure that if the Senate does some kind of extension, we're at least getting a lot of good things along with it.
And how much of health, till that final word, how much of healthcare costs gone up since we passed Obamacare? Which was
I don't
Affordable Care Act.
I don't have the number in front of me, but it's a lot. I mean, it basically, the idea that it was going to bend the cost curve down was laughably wrong. And of course, I also point out to people that one of the pay-fors for Obamacare was the nationalization of student lending, which is also cost us a fortune.
All right, guys. That anatomy of a fraud is the topic of this conversation. Phil Kerpen, you're the best. Keep being the watchdog that you are, and I hope they don't come after you the way they did against Shirley. And folks, we'll be right back. This is the More Money Show.
Thanks for listening to More Money with Steve Moore. You can hear More Money with Steve Moore Saturday afternoons at 1. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.